So anyhow, I'm not going to do a vendor pitch, but I think it's great that you guys allow us to come up here and give our 15 minutes because we have been the folks that have been working hand in hand with your folks that are working on the data for many, many years. So we've seen your kitchens. We've seen really great implementations of managing data and really not so great. But now is a time to really reimagine and really think about the processes that you've been trying to do for so long, whether it's with a tool or with AI now. So I like to start off with what is the problem that we see out there. Definitely that trust gap, and we've been talking about that all morning here. And if you don't have semantics, if you don't have the context around your data, that AI is going to act out. It's going to be just looking at numbers. It's just going to be making yes/no decisions and looking at those patterns from a number and a data perspective. You need the context around the data for that trust gap. Speed and scale. So most of our clients are coming to us today and saying, hey, my constituents, they're skipping the metadata, they're skipping the data modeling, they're skipping the governance, all for the sake of keeping up with the pace of AI. And you can't sacrifice safety for speed. So legal and compliance, they're non-negotiables, right, for your organization to keep you from being on all those slides that were presented in the very beginning. And then the lack of interoperability. So we're still very point product solutioned, even in the data management era or realm within your organization. If you take a look at this next slide, you probably have a team that's doing the data modeling, and that could be 5 to 50 people, depending on how big your systems is or how big your organizations are. And it could take you a fairly large amount of time to create a new domain of data. Then you might have another metadata management team that's out there tagging the data, cataloging the data, doing the inventory, trying to do the data lineage, and that's probably taking them more like 4 to 8 weeks to create a new domain of data. Then you have your data quality folks that are profiling the data, and they're all using different tools and having different outcomes and not really talking to each other. And then finally, from a business perspective, you have your stewards out there in the organization, across the organization, defining that business context for you. And this costs a lot of money, takes a lot of time, and at the end of the day, do you trust your data? So that's what we're solving for. That's what we're working on. We're working on speed and we're working on trust so that you don't have to sacrifice quality, so you don't have to sacrifice safety when it comes to AI. Love this quote by Stephen Covey. Speed without trust is a liability, and trust without speed is just a bottleneck. So how are we solving for these problems? What you're going to see throughout the year, it started last year, was these catalog vendors are putting everything on its own platform and connecting that information with MCP. They're looking at outcomes and use cases by synthesizing the data that's being collected across the platform. And we're looking at the platform as a capability platform, not a point product perspective. So we have an area where we're designing the data. That's your logical information. You're setting the standards of the organization. Then we have an area where you're actually looking at what data is out there, and we're using AI to classify the data. We're using AI to start governing the data, to start virtualizing that stewardship experience, because for a long time, that was really viewed as the janitorial work. It had to get done, but it wasn't sexy. Now we're turning that into agents. Tracing and observing data, you have to keep an eye on that data. You can't keep up with it from a human perspective anymore, but you need that human in the loop to be able to accept or reject the anomalies that are happening when the data starts to drift. And then finally, having a nice, easy, Amazon-friendly way to shop, share, and compare data makes the end user experience trusted, and it keeps them coming back. So I look at all of these things as the commodity layer. The commodity layer has been being done in the industry for 20 plus years, only we're bringing that all together so that you can inject AI on top of this. So I have a ton of clients that are saying, yeah, I can just Gen AI a data model. I can just Gen AI new business rules, new business terms, et cetera, et cetera. But why spend time doing that? I think the first speaker nailed it this morning in the room when he said, if you're just using AI on your current processes, you're just speeding up what you're delivering today. You're not reinventing anything. You're not really looking at the use cases and the outcomes that you're trying to achieve in a new way. So speaking of nutrition labels and trust, this is designing for trust. You have to design for trust within your data. So what we do, what we offer is a way for you guys to decide what is trust to you. And trust is changing. Trust isn't just the data quality results from your profiling tool. It's more contextual now. It's more based on the how well used is that data, how much is that data used, is it getting the successful outcomes that it's supposed to be getting, do the users even like it, and you're mixing in profiling results too. So what we allow is the client to choose what facets they deem to add up to trust for their data, and then you put the weight on it and the system classifies it into gold, silver, and bronze. So you always know if you're using high-risk data, what is the trust? What is that trust label for that data? So having that commodity layer, we have started to add our own AI on top of the commodity layer using MCP and drawing upon the capabilities and the outcomes of those capabilities on top of the platform. And the first one that we did was the automated data product factory. And also we now have the Quest data modeler. You guys might know us by Irwin, but we now allow you to AI a data model and work with that data model using AI. So giving them a Gen AI experience for creating data models. Say amen to that. It's been quite a few years, but we're able to make it to that point right now, and it's pretty sexy. But I'm here to talk about the data product factory. When you saw all those different silos of your metadata team, your governance team, your data profiling team, they are all thinking of data products differently. Probably across the organization, you might be thinking of data products differently. So we use Gartner's definition of a data product. It's a curated, self-contained collection of data assets. So it could be internal data, it could be external data, it could be reports, it could be dashboards, it could be an AI model itself. And it's all wrapped in that logical, semantic context, as well as the governance and the guardrails around that data product. So today, we see 4 different types of data products, and they start from basic and go to very mature. So starting with raw data products, what is that? That's a feed that you're feeding many data products with, so you're giving people a collection of data, basically, or extracts from many different tables and columns. Then we go on to master data products. So wouldn't you love to have a master data product around customer, around revenue, around product, and it has all those data sets combined and you're reusing that instead of starting from scratch every single time, and it has a trust score. Insight-based data products, here's where the outcome is going to match exactly what the end user is asking. So for a long time in the data democratized world, we were self-serving the users with a pile of data and saying, figure it out yourself. Well, a lot of times they didn't figure it out for themselves. So now you're matching the outcome with this data set, which is now defined as a data product. And then you have composite data products. So if you're building a new AI model and you know you need product data and you know you need customer data and you know you need geographical data around this information, you can go to the data product factory and select those data products for that new AI model, and you know it's trusted, you know it's curated, and it has the context around that new data product. So what does this do? The tangible benefits, and I'm going to steal a quote from Stan Christians, who's the COO over at Calibra. He says that the fastest way to get from data to dollars is with a data product. And I thought that was a great definition. Why? Because A, they're reusable. You're not out there recreating the wheel across your organization. They're measured and monitored for value. So they're not going to just go sit on the shelf and become this isolated data that nobody uses anymore. You're reacting to it. You're socializing that data product. It gets a trust score immediately. You find it in your marketplace. It's accessible and it's composable. And most of our clients right now are creating the code and putting it onto their L2 environments inside of their Snowflake or their Databricks or their Microsoft platforms. Think about the contextual infrastructure itself as well. So when you combine all of these best practices on a data management platform, you're getting the semantic layer. So you're getting that logical representation of the data. You're getting the ontology layer. What is that? That is the business context around the data. So exactly what ontologies you would use for your business is stored here. And then the contextual data layer, which is being able to have that capacity to Gen AI, the data product itself. So you're getting all of those layers with it. Folks are choosing to run their LLMs against that semantic layer so that they get that context. So we are going to demonstrate, back at our table, and we're going to demonstrate later on today our data product factory, and this is what it is. You're going to Gen AI what that new data product is. So I'm going to go out and I'm going to say, I need a new data product that deals with fraud for this particular regulatory compliance initiative, and please include this type of data. And then it's going to go out to your enterprise logical definitions and find where those entities and attributes are. So you're going to get a picture of what that new data product is going to look like from a logical perspective. If it doesn't find it in your model, it will go out to OpenAI and find that logical definition. Once it finds that, it's creating a logical data product spec. So it's not this huge exercise that you're doing on an ongoing basis, this enterprise logical data modeling. It's just creating that spec from Gen AI, and then it's going out and finding where's the physical information. So it's finding the data for you for this new data product. Wrap that in business guardrails, and you have a secure, trusted data product that you can reuse and get all that great, tangible return on investment from. So that's it. That was my spiel for today, and boy, I got it done in 10 minutes. Thank you. Great to meet you all.